I don't know if the expression is butthurt about seeing someone else get a hero that looks like them, but that's because they've always had heroes that look like them.
Oh boy. Is this the spin Marvel's going with? Having actors get pissy with fans. Yeah, that worked out so well for Kathleen Kennedy and the Star Wars crew. Well, buckle up, buckaroos. It's gonna be that kind of video.
Agent Coulson is back and he has a message for the Captain Marvel haters.
Does he? Is it gonna be something like, I know you think the film sucks, but give it a chance. Go and see it. You might actually have fun.
There are people who get very bent out of shape about the fact that she's a woman and that Brie's a woman and wants to see women moving into an equal place in humanity to men.
So, vagina monologue it is.
Sad. It must be sad to be that kind of dinosaur wandering toward the tar pits.
Looks like Grumpy forgot to take his ageless mail again.
Those might seem like strong—
Dude, Gregg, put that thing back in your pants. Kids might be watching. I'm just kidding, Dan Casey. You were about to queef?
Those might seem like strong words from everyone's favorite agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they were very necessary in light of recent events. Captain Marvel hits theaters this week, and critics agree it has one of the best movie cats of all time.
That's because this is their only chance to get a good look at a pussy. Cat.
Now, kidding aside, it's actually an important and long overdue step for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which took 20 movies and 10 years to finally give a female hero her own film.
Elektra came out in 2005, and Ant-Man and the Wasp came out in 2018. And while you're harping on how long it took, keep in mind that only 8 of the characters have their own films. The other films are either ensemble films like The Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, or sequels. And yes, it's weird that Disney hasn't made a solo Black Widow film, but considering the way the Marvel films have played out, with each one leading up to the next Avengers film, it's tricky to see how a spy thriller could tie into that. Of course, Black Widow isn't the only Avenger without a solo film.
While the reviews are mixed thus far,
so it turns out the haters actually have a point. The movie isn't the greatest film of all time ever that the shills predicted. So what are you two suck-ups complaining about?
before it ever hit theaters, groups of grade A dinguses misunderstood Brie Larson when she said she wanted to leverage her position and privilege to create opportunities for journalists and film critics from comparatively underrepresented groups like women, people of color, and the disabled.
That's actually not what she said. What she said was, about a year ago, I started paying attention to what my press days looked like and at critics reviewing movies, and noticed it appeared to be overwhelmingly white male. So I spoke to Dr. Stacey Smith at the USC Amberg Inclusion Initiative, who put together a study to confirm that. Moving forward, I decided to make sure my press days were more inclusive. It sounded like across the board, minority female interviewers weren't getting the same opportunities as white male interviewers. When I talked to the facilities that weren't providing it, they all had different excuses. So here we have Brie admitting that she basically had someone concoct a study, which I'm sure was conducted in the most objective, non-feminist agenda way possible, to prove her preconceived conclusion. The findings of the study are for another video, but the gist of it is that more white men write reviews. Well, that had nothing to do with being interviewed, which was Brie's actual complaint. And the study was released in 2018, about 8 months before Brie made those comments. Her comments, along with those from the Crystal and Lucy Awards, made it sound like Brie doesn't like white men. And yeah, she denied hating white men, in that smug, condescending white woman voice that makes it totally clear she actually does hate white men.
Am I saying that I hate white dudes? No, I'm not. But what I am saying is that if you make a movie that is a love letter to women of color, there is an insanely low chance a woman of color will have the chance to see your movie and review your movie.
Am I saying I hate Brie Larson? No, I'm not. But if you make a movie that's a feminist love letter to the future cat ladies and make numerous public statements implying men, especially white men, are the ultimate evil, there's an insanely low chance men will want to see your movie. But I don't hate Brie. Nope.
Now, these tall babies in the comments section proceeded to bombard the Captain Marvel page on Rotten Tomatoes with negative reviews, in spite of the fact that it was still unreleased and they hadn't seen it.
Stop lying. They weren't review bombing the film. They were leaving negative comments along with checking the don't want to see box. Rotten Tomatoes, Fandango, who owns Rotten Tomatoes, and Disney didn't like this. So instead of going through the comments and removing any that were actual preemptive reviews, Rotten Tomatoes pulled the want to see function altogether. Had the score been positive, nothing would have happened, regardless of whether people were leaving fake reviews.
There are people who get appraised very quickly, and that turns out to be the opposite of wisdom. And I think we're seeing some of that in the moment.
Yes, we are. Go on and continue to embarrass yourself. Appraise us of the situation, Agent Shilson.
I think Captain Marvel's a spectacular hero, and Carol Danvers is a really cool origin story. One of the coolest in the comics anyway.
She got blasted with Kree Spunk by accident. There's nothing cool about that origin unless you're desperate for an intergalactic There's Something About Mary.
I'm a big sucker for the thing where people are having to really understand on a deeper level who they are in a way that they never would have imagined.
That never happens in the film. Most of the reviews I've seen have said they figured out everything about Flat Actress in the first 20 minutes and spent the rest of the film waiting for her to catch up. This isn't Shakespeare, Shilson. It's Marvel's Green Lantern. The only reason it made money is because of the MCU tie-in.
Forget that she's a woman. Just a great origin story, period. Someday we'll look back and be like, it was a big deal that she was a woman? It'll seem silly.
It already seems silly, jackass. The same people criticizing the film were rallying behind Battle Angel Alita, a film featuring an actual strong female lead who earns her power and proves herself to be a heroine. But you wouldn't know about that film because the professional critics decided to bury it in the reviews.
There are people who get very bent out of shape about the fact that she's a woman and that Brie's a woman and wants to see women moving into an equal place in humanity to men.
Lies. So many lies tumbling out of your mouth. Quick, while you're on the roll, tell us where the King of Pop touched you.
Sad. It must be sad to be that kind of dinosaur wandering toward the tar pits.
Well, at least you know where you're going.
But there's something special about this, and I think it's easy for people to get, I don't know if the expression is butthurt, about seeing someone else get a hero that looks like them, but that's because they've always had heroes that look like them.
I'm black. I don't look anything like this blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman. And didn't you guys tell people like me that we never had any heroes who looked like us last year when Black Panther came out? So now we do have heroes who look like us, when you want to show your Aryan goddess to the public. Or did you think people wouldn't notice? Brie Larson fits generic white female to the point you might want to change your tagline to whiter, blonder, bitchier. And don't think people missed what you did with Monica Rambeau. She was the first female Captain Marvel. But you can't have a black woman be the face of Marvel Studios or Marvel Comics, can you? No, we need this chick who looks like she fell out of 1938 Germany. But go on, Gregg. You were talking about diversity?
I've seen at Comic-Cons young Asian and Latino people, girls and boys, coming to see Quake or Yo-Yo from the Secret Warriors on our show, and I think it's exciting that Marvel's finally taken this step. It wouldn't have been a complete canvas without someone like Captain Marvel, in the same way that it was never going to be a complete canvas without T'Challa and Wakanda.
So Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, the Wasp, War Machine, Heimdall, and Falcon don't exist? They don't complete the Marvel Universe? Or is it that they don't matter because it doesn't help your false narrative? Schmuck. Speaking of schmucks, Dan Casey, do you have anything you want to add?
Everyone deserves to see their experience represented on the big screen.
Have you ever read an actual comic or watched any of the films? How many filthy rich weapons manufacturers do you know? Wait, don't answer that. I don't want to know who buys your services. None of these characters represent anyone's actual experiences. Expecting them to do that is like expecting Game of Thrones to match the real world. What you get are characters you can identify with because of their actions and personalities. The moment you turn this into, here's a character for you, you send the very bigoted message that people can only like characters who look like them, implying that any character who doesn't isn't for them, and they shouldn't and can't like them. Well, too bad, because I identify with Spider-Man, the real Spider-Man, and I don't care that I don't look anything like him. You don't get to tell me which characters I get to like, white boy. I'll make up my own mind, thank you very much.
And if you don't like it, that's fine. There are 20 other Marvel movies that you can watch.
Look, just because Captain Marvel was made for feminists who need to take a break from surfing the web for anime porn doesn't mean the rest of the MCU movies were made specifically for white men. Maybe if people like Brie Larson didn't have such fragile egos, they wouldn't get pissy every time they see other people enjoying something they can't stand.
But for those of you who can't find anything constructive to say, then let me offer you some advice.
After 3 boring minutes, The Rock says, know your role and shut your mouth!
Just log off. This isn't what fandom is about,
Spoken like a true poser.
and you need to be better.
You first. Now go and chill for the man some more. I hear if you're real nice, he might take you out to get the cum of some young guy.